I'm back into watching movies. Well, I kind of missed garbage January month. But, well, what can you do in this thing? Oh, and by the way, if you notice, my computer is not here. Why? Well, it is on the repair shop. It kind of fused its battery, and I had to buy a new one. But since it is an alien world, and it's kind of hard to to open it, and I don't want to do any risk to it. So this is why I drop it on an electronic shop that gladly they're gonna replace me the battery, but it's gonna take a couple of days. So, but so the moment you're watching this video, I don't have the computers, but I promise that once I get it, I'm gonna start editing. And but in the meantime, I just want to record this vlog, which is about me talking to you about the film that I saw while I got my laptop hospitalized. And that movie is none other than Willy's Wonderland. You know what? I was actually anticipating this film because I'm a big sucker of a lot of campy horror films. Sometimes I just want to cross my fingers that it could be good or fun, or sometimes it disappoints me when it gets really bad. But either way, it's always kind of like a surprise box for this. But there's one other thing that drew me into this movie, and that is, of course, Nicolas Cage. At this point, we should know that Nicolas Cage is technically a hidden gem when it's about movies. Whenever he's there, there's no doubt that you're gonna have some fun. It doesn't matter if the movie is gonna be bad or it's gonna be good. Although, to be fair, I haven't seen lots of Nicolas Cage, but I'm getting some respect to this guy because there's something about him that draws me into it. And this movie is no exception, in which it's basically Nicolas Cage in a setting of Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh my god. For those who doesn't know, Five Nights at Freddy's is basically this popular video game in which you're just kind of like a security guard looking at a haunted Chuck E. Cheese place, where he monitors the room on the night, trying to avoid getting killed by the animatronic animals that roam around. And this is all you need to know about Five Nights at Freddy's. And the concept becomes so popular that many people the video game spawned out a lot of sequels, there's spin-offs, and there are people actually trying, and I mean trying, to make it into a movie. By far, we didn't get an official Five Nights at Freddy's movies, but we had that shitty-ass Banana Splits movie. If you've seen one of my Halloween specials, I don't have to tell you that I hated Banana Splits. I hated that movie with a passion. And man, that was such a waste of time and such cringiness. But still, I was really open to see the same concept, but done better. So at least I had my hopes up because Nicolas Cage was gonna be in there. So I finally watched it, even though I wish it could have been on the movie theaters. I had to deal it with streaming service, in my case, PlayStation 4. I rented for $20. And here is my honest, quick opinion about Willy's Wonderland. is campy. This movie is campy as hell. It's grindhoundy as hell. It's kind of like medium budgeted. It's something. It's not for everyone. But I love it. Guys, I actually love this film. There's something special when you see a movie that it knows what it's doing. It knows that there are some things that have some element that you're going to say, oh, this movie is garbage, it's trashy. But during this whole minute, during this whole movie, I was just having this big sadistic smile on my face because a lot of this movie, it kind of earned it. Because my God, it's not an original concept, but still, it kept me on the edge of wanting to see, okay, where this movie is going. What stupid thing is gonna pull out. What Nicolas Cage is gonna do. And if you're not into these campy style horror movies, I'm sorry, but this movie could not be for you. But since I'm kind of like a guy who forgives this kind of films, I can't help it. I just really like this film. I really love this film. Probably so far the best of this year. But there's still more movies that I have to watch until the end of the year, which is going to be a challenge, because you know what. To summarize the premise, it's about Nicolas Cage plays the stoic drifter going around the United States until his car gets a flat tire that the mechanic can't help on the repairs of the car because he doesn't accept credit cards and there's no ATM, so he decides to give him a solution to Nicolas Cage, which is to work it off on this rundown place known as Willy's Wonderland, which is technically, of course, is kind of like Chuck E. Cheese. But instead of a mouse, it's a weasel, it has animatronics, and of course, instead of serving pizza, it serves hot dogs. So basically, he has to spend the night doing janitorial work. The place is owned by this Texas stereotype guy with cowboy and everything. So basically, yeah, he just has to stay there for the night. But little that he knows is that the place has these animatronics that they come to life and they try to kill him. But unfortunately for the animatronics, Nicolas Cage is really badass. He doesn't flinch and he just beats and kills every single animatronic like it's nothing. That's all you need to know. Oh yeah, and there's some teenagers who wants to burn the place because they know that something bad is happening there, and of course they can't just burn the place because or else they're gonna burn Nicolas Cage in it. That's pretty much the summary of it. So it's just a simple premise, nothing special. You just have to go along with the ride. But if there's one thing that this movie keeps you on the edge, and probably is the best part of the movie, is of course Nicolas Cage. During the whole movie, he doesn't utter a single word. He's as stoic as a real life stoic. He just there, he just receives order, he just listens, and you see his face like, well, okay. And even when he sees the first animatronics that's gonna kill him, he's like, well, okay. And beats the shit out of it, and he's like, okay, you're dead. I gotta keep doing my job. Nothing faces this guy. And even when he begins to hear the reasons of the whole animatronic scene, the backstory and everything, he's just so dedicated to this job. So much that he even is so dedicated to the schedule of his break, because every time he's on break time, he has this watch in which the alarm sounds, and he's like, break time. He just goes to the break room. He just have a drink of a soda. He just play pinball, and then break time's over. Get to the can in the trash. Back to work. And that's all you got about him. Nothing phases him. It's hilariously amazing and so badass. Probably, if I could make a kind of like a top 10 best performances of Nicolas Cage, I hope that this is one of his top. Because you can tell a good actor, or sometimes even a well-written character, if they just don't need dialogue to know what it is. You don't know where the guy comes from. You don't know where his name. What's his name? You don't know nothing about this guy. But sometimes it's not necessary. It's just some guy who happens to be a badass. That's it. There's other characters, of course. For example, there's this group of teenagers, and there's this lead teenage girl. I don't remember the actress name. I think the character called Vic or something like that. I don't remember. But basically, she is technically this girl who's been raised by this really mean-spirited sheriff who, she's kind of like the epitome of the redneckish Texas cowboy sheriff who kind of like a bad mother. Sorry about the cars. But there's kind of like a hidden definite in which I'll get to it to try to not to spoil too much. But basically, this girl is kind of like the archetypical survival girl in horror movies. She and her friends are trying to burn up the place, but she's always stopped. And then, of course, because she has kind of like this moral high ground, she doesn't want to burn the place until they remove the Nicolas Cage janitor out of the place. And of course, the other teenagers, not much you have to know. They're all stupid teenagers that are only there only to become meat fodder. And some of them really die in stupid ways. They have these stupid dialogues that, as cringy as it is, you kind of just don't take it seriously. They know that it is technically a really, really bad, just a movie that is just done for the sake of just having fun of the premise. And they do really, really dumb decision that you're like, God damn it, you guys do deserve to die because you made the stupidest mistake you could have ever done. And, well, that's why they're there. But sometimes, of course, we're not there for these stupid teenagers. We're just there just to see Nicolas Cage kick ass. Again, like I said, there is this sheriff who she's really, really, really angry at her. Well, at the teenager, she's kind of like acting like mean to everything, and she's also accompanied by this wormy guy who is kind of like questioning a lot, having a lot of questions, making awkward jokes. It's kind of like the newbie who asks too many questions. Also, for some reason, this guy, he kind of looks like a young Landis, but it's just me. I'm just pretty bad on identifying people. But this is mostly in all the acting department that I can tell you about Willy's Wonderland. Cinematography and camera techniques. I'm gonna tell you that this movie is not very bright. Although a lot of the shots and the cinematics are actually shot like a grindhouse film. You'll see that there are a little bit kind of like filters of yellowish tint color during the whole movie. It's not exactly grim, but you can tell that they wanted to emulate these kind of like exploitation films, kind of in the style of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you can tell that, especially in the atmosphere, which is, it is technically, they're trying to emulate those, the atmosphere of those Texas trashy type kind of guys, and they have their accents, but they that they always have ulterior motives. Something that they characterize in movies again, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I do have to warn, of course, that there are a few moments in which I gotta warn you that there's gonna be a little bit of a seizure warning. Specifically, there's one scene in which there are flashy lights. This is gonna be probably one of the, if I had to take points down to the movie, that could be that, because when you have kind of like flashing lights, is even for the purpose of trying to build some kind of atmosphere or to build a kill, I think that it's more annoying than effective. So I gotta warn you of this moments. That moment actually almost hurt my eyes. What else? The action shots are good for the time being. Sometimes it gets a little bit shaky. What else I can talk about this movie? The implementation about the animatronic characters, the animatronics are basically the main antagonists of the film. I think they have like eight animal creatures in it. In this case, the Willy character, which is technically the Chuck E. Cheese of this Willy Wonderland, he's a weasel. He's also accompanied by this pixie fairy, in which for some reason the drawing makes her look like Joy from Inside Out. But that's just me. There's also this ostrich. There's an alligator. There's this chameleon. There's this human pirate. There's a gorilla. I think I lost track of all the animals that are there. Animals when two of those creatures are humans. But basically, the effects of these animals are actually practical. Most of the effects are practical. There is some semblance of CGI in some moments, but luckily it is technically hidden in the shadows, or is cleverly shot or edited so much that you kind of don't see so much of a difference. Although there are some moments that you're gonna notice that, okay, this is clearly something of a set or something like that. Probably the one that I noticed the most is during a scene in which the teenagers are on a rooftop, and I was looking at for some reason I was looking at the sky, and then I was looking at the stars, the background, and I was like, that's a set. For some reason I thought that I was watching the drape that you kind of like use on when you're filming like kind of like a amateur kids movie with a curtain with some elaborate stars. I don't know why I noticed that. Oh my god. Oh yeah, by the way, yes, there is blood. There's some gore, there is. But there's a lot of brutality on mechanical creatures. Yeah, because Nicolas Cage just beats the crap out of these animatronics, and with no mercy, no holding bars. Also, by the way, when you think about it, how strong Nick Cage is in the movie's context, because punching a mechanical being is gonna hurt a lot. I also want to tell you that I kind of dig in the soundtrack. I know that for some people, the soundtrack might gonna cringe others because yeah, it's the typical Chuck E. Cheese. It's a small world type of song that they use in order to satirize, yeah, all of this kid friendly places. But I know that there's a song that it happens during the climax, and I actually really dig it. So technically, that's all I have to say about the Willy's Wonderland thing without spoiling it. I absolutely kind of love the hell out of this movie, but there's some things that I do want to kind of talk about it. But if you're curious about some opinions about this, I think it is a good time for some spoiler alert. Yep, it's time for me to talk about spoilers because what can I tell you about this? How this whole crazy thing happens. So we got all the elements. We got Nick Cage doing janitor job and killing off the animatronics, and these stupid teenagers. They just get inside, trying to get this guy out, and they even this girl gave it the kind of like the backstory, and it's a stupid backstory, but okay, it's about animatronics. So what backstory do you have? Here's the thing. The background of this is that Willy's Wonderland place was built by this serial killer who attracted families in order to make them private parties in order to kill them. So after the founder killed off many children and adults along with his crew and everything, they surround him. But of course, instead of turning himself in, he and his crew they commit a satanic suicide ritual in which they kill themselves, and their spirit begin to haunt the whole place. But of course, the people didn't burn this place down; they just closed it. And then 10 years later, the cowboy guy, this Tex, I think his name was Tex or something like that. He decides to reopen the place, for business. But unfortunately, since the spirit of this killer and the satanic crew are possessing the animatronic animals, they just begin to kill off people in even outside the premises. It kill off children in schools and in the job and everything. So technically, then the Texas guy, the mechanic, and the sheriff, they decided to make a deal with the animatronics, and the deal is that we're gonna feed you. We're gonna bring people to you so you can feed, in exchange for you to stay and don't commit any murders outside. And so technically what they're doing is luring people to go to spend the night on this ranch shack abandoned Chuck E. Cheese wannabe, so that an animatronic can kill and feed. Not in their minds or in their heads, we're gonna burn this place, but no, because they just want to reopen this place up. Something like that. Yeah, it's kind of stupid. So basically, Nick Cage is technically the latest sacrifice, but little than they know that the guy is a badass and he just begins to kill all these things. But then the sheriff, guess what? She's not happy. She's not happy that that Nick Cage is killing all these creatures. Instead of saying that, oh wow, he's killing the animatronics, he's our savior. She's so dedicated to her pack that she's like, no, you have to die. You have to die. This is so hard to do. You just have to die. Yeah, I know. It's stupid. It's dumb. But you know what? It earned it. It totally earned it. And yeah, there's this kind of also the backstory in which the main teenager girl, she's actually one of the survivors of one of those nights, and the sheriff, apparently out of guilt, tried to amend by adopting her, but she turned out to be kind of like a very terrible mother, I'll say. I kind of like that, honestly, in which it kind of shows that just because you're adopted doesn't mean you're gonna end up with kind of like the best parent there is. So I can give credit to that. Boy, let me tell you, the killing of the animatronics are actually are technically gruesome, but also the teenagers, they die in stupid ways. Obviously, you're gonna have someone getting killed because they were too busy having sex. Pants on shirt, but pants on sex, by the way. And another one dies because he's so gullible. He's so gullible when one animatronic is like, I'm different from them. Okay, so let me help you. Psych! Oh yeah, and yeah, it ends up in a badass way, you know, with the Nick Cage and all these things, but I'm gonna leave it like that. Because there's nothing else to say, but Nick Cage kicking ass with Five Nights at Freddy's wannabes. My god, guys. Honestly, that was worth $20. I had this big dumb smile on my face. I really, really love this movie. Do I recommend it? I recommend it only if you want to waste your time to just watching a dumb flick with Nick Cage being the stoic Terminator for Terminators. Guys, that was such a wonderful, wonderful. Hello? What happened?